Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And this morning, it looks like Nashville Electric Service is showing now 4,500 outages. They're making up a lot of ground pretty quickly this morning. We're also now learning that the death count in Tennessee from that storm is now at 29. Mayor Freddie O'Connell saying burying electric lines is one way to make the city more resilient, and he's calling for help on that front.
I would call upon NES to work with us on these important opportunities and investments. And this is also an opportunity for our state and federal partners to be involved in helpful infrastructure spending and regulation. This needs to be a long-term fix.
But the changes to the corporate structure at NES is what Tennessee State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson is interested in. He spoke about that with Matt Murphy yesterday about the possibility of giving stakeholders outside of Nashville a say in appointing the utilities governing board.
Certainly, that is one avenue that we could look at relative to the NES board and who is appointing that board, and to make sure people that are being serviced by that board have some accountability to the people that are appointing it.
Johnson says another idea is having the state take over NES from the mayor-appointed Electric Power Board. The search for today's show host, Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, took a turn last night. Investigators seen at the home of Guthrie's sister and her husband a few miles away. Investigators also returned to Nancy Guthrie's home, despite having already released that crime scene to the Guthrie family. Meantime, Savannah and her two siblings released a tearful plea for their mother's return.
Side by side with her siblings, Savannah could only hope their message reached their mother's ears. She spoke directly to her mother's kidnappers.
We are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Authorities are investigating ransom notes sent to multiple TV stations, trying to decipher their authenticity.
ABC's Anthony Carlo there. When it comes to sports competitors, it's pretty safe to say that Lindsey Vonn is a beast. The Olympic skier, who suffered a ruptured ACL last week during a World Cup event, says she is going to compete at the Winter Olympics anyway. Fellow Olympic skier Landon Wendler.
And if you have strength and stability in your knee, it's entirely possible to be done. It is very painful, but, us athletes will do whatever it takes.
Yeah, Lindsey Vonn is taking to the slopes for her very first event, Sunday, February 8th. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Pretty tough trading day on Wall Street. Dow Jones Industrials right now, minus 359. NASDAQ falling 291, and the S&P is down 68 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You need a water filtration system, you need a water softener, you get it at betterwater.com. You can listen to our show anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. You can watch us. We're all over the place. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. We got a lot to get to today. A little bit of time. Josh Tifo is going to be joining us, Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. That'll be right around 11. And we're going to dive into all sorts of stuff. President Trump's going to be making a major announcement tonight. Did you hear that? Major announcement tonight from the South Court Auditorium, 6 p.m. Central. We don't know what it's going to be, but we are going to keep our eyes on it. And if any rumors start to pop up about what it might be, we'll bring it to you first. I was enthralled last night with the NBC Donald Trump interview. And is this the interview? Because all right, full disclosure, I didn't see it on NBC. I saw the clips, right? This isn't the interview that's going to air during the Super Bowl, right? I don't think it is. I think that's going to be a secondary interview.
Yeah, I think that's a different one.
Why would they do two interviews like that back to back?
I don't know.
Doesn't that seem like a little bit of a waste?
Yeah, it seems like a waste, a little bit overkill almost.
And like you're going to have some overlap.
Yeah.
Like you already got the answers to the questions that you're going to ask.
Yeah, so why watch it later?
Unless the Super Bowl one's going to be a puff piece, like a just fluffy. Like
maybe, or like some just like heavy questions that people have been waiting for answers for, and the
nachos or hot dog.
Precursor one is going to be the light one. I don't know.
I don't know.
Poor planning.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I guess you don't turn the president down if you get an interview.
No.
Like if it was me and he said, listen, we're going to do an interview on Super Bowl Sunday. I also want to do an interview on Wednesday. I probably wouldn't say no. To be fair, maybe that was their thought process.
Yeah, I can't blame him.
But the interview was fun, man. They asked him, do you see any scenario where you're still president on January 21st, 2029?
On January 21st, 2029, do you see any scenario where you are still president?
I don't know. It would be interesting. But wouldn't it be terrible if I agreed with, if I gave you the answer that you're looking for? It would make life so much less exciting, right? It would be so much less exciting. But I only do this for one reason: make America great again. And that's what we're doing.
I love it. He's like, it would be so boring if I just said no. It reminds me of when he had Zoran Mamdani in the Oval Office, and he said, do you still think that the president is a tyrant and a dictator? And he's like, just tell him yes. It's easier that way. It's like, this is the guy. He doesn't, it's hilarious. I love it. I'm here for it. He was also asked about the 2026 midterms. Are you going to trust the results of the 2026 midterms? Get ready for this talking point to be ramped up nonstop, just like we saw in the 2024 election. Will you accept the results of the election? Will you? Let me ask you again and again and again, and I'll ask you again next week and again a week after that. And just get ready. This is going to be asked of President Trump again and again and again, partially because of what we're seeing in Fulton County, Georgia, with the ballots being seized by the FBI and the investigation going on there. We're still not learning much about what we're seeing in Fulton County. The president does talk about it in this interview with NBC, but first, midterms. Will you trust the results?
Will you trust the results of the midterms if Republicans lose control of Congress?
I will if the elections are honest. Look, I want the last one that wants to complain. I just had a great election. They say one of the greatest elections, you will agree, ever. Won all 7 swing states. Won 84% of the counties in America. That's why the map is all red. We just had a great election. I believe there was cheating. I think there was cheating.
Well, speaking of counties, what are you doing in Fulton County?
It was too big to rig.
It was too big to rig. This is what they pushed the entire time. We need to make it too big to rig. There is a threshold of cheating that they can get away with. And then there's a part where it's just too obvious. It's too noticeable. You can't cheat past this certain point. Do you think that there was still cheating in Minneapolis? Absolutely. Do I still think that there was cheating in places like Philadelphia or Detroit in the 2024 election? Yeah, I would be willing to put some money down on that. I would feel confident that not everything was on the up and up. Maybe it wasn't enough to swing it, but you can envision some scenario where there was some cheating. 100%. Now on Fulton County, you heard him bring it up right there at the end. Oh, speaking of that, what's going on? What's going on with Fulton County? Well, President Trump said they're inspecting the ballots. Cheating took place in Fulton County.
What is happening in Fulton County?
I'm not doing anything, but the FBI went in because it's been under I guess, review for years. The cheating that took place in Fulton County and in that particular
Nobody knows
state.
what's in the warrant. What
well,
are
you're
they
going to
looking
find
for?
out. Look, why would anybody be upset that they went in and they got the ballots, I guess, right? Again, they did this. That's been under review and under investigation for 4 years. And now they got a court order. You know, they got a court order signed by
nobody knows what
a
the evidence
respected but liberal judge signed a court order allowing them to go and pick them up. Well, you're going to know what the ballots say because they're right now inspecting the ballot. I'm not involved in it, but they are inspecting and checking.
What is happening?
They're inspecting and checking the ballots. They're looking into it. And you hear the NBC reporter, and he's in the same spot that we are. Like, we don't really know what's happening with that investigation. They're really playing it close to the chest. And listen, I'm as interested as anyone else. I think that there was cheating in Fulton County. Remember the water main break? Remember the ballots that were pulled from underneath the table? I mean, look, there are curious things that happened in the 2020 election. Fulton County, for sure. You could also go and look at Detroit, where they boarded up the windows. Don't think that we forgot about that. But President Trump went on to say that you're going to find out the true winner of Georgia in 2020. Now, while he's being a little coy, I do think that the president has a bit more information than he's letting out. And I think he's pretty confident with where this investigation is going to be heading.
But let me ask you this. If China or any of these countries are involved in our elections, that would bring her into it. And everybody knows that Russia, they talked about Russia, it turned out to be a hoax. It was Hunter Biden, it wasn't Russia. Look, we have to have honest elections.
Yeah.
There should be nothing wrong with the fact that they went in, got ballots from a while ago, and they're going to look at them. And now they're going to find out the true winner of that state.
You're going to find out the true winner of Georgia. This is why D&I Gabbard is on the ground, says President Trump. If there was another country involved, if the conspiracy theories of Venezuela or China hacking and influencing, we're going to find out. President Trump seems pretty confident here. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. He's playing it close to the vest. We'll keep you updated on that. Looking ahead to the 2028 presidential election, President Trump says that J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio would be an unstoppable team.
Look, J.D. is fantastic, and Marco is fantastic.
How are they
both
different?
doing a
How are they
great
different?
job. And I do think this. It's a great question. I think that's your most interesting question.
Yeah.
I would say one is slightly more diplomatic than the other. I think they're both of very high intelligence. I mean, you know, they will do shows. They will do Joe Rogan as opposed to the opponent not doing it because they couldn't handle it. They will be able to do whatever they have to do. I think there's a difference in style. You know, you can see the style yourself, but they're both very capable. I do think the combination of J.D. and Marco would be very hard to be beaten, I think. But you never know in politics, right? They say, in the age of Trump, you never know.
You never know. You never know. Well, if we get the discrepancies from 2020 under control, I feel a lot more confident about 2028. And if we get some answers on that, yeah, I think they're going to be hard to beat. I love the way he says, well, you know, they can go on and do a Joe Rogan. I don't know if anybody else can. Kamala Harris, she hid from that stuff as best she could. Remember, she offered Joe Rogan an interview, but they wanted to rebuild Joe Rogan's set somewhere else and have it really constrained, get the questions ahead of time. And Rogan was like, No, that's not how we do things. So you can come to Austin. She couldn't. I think Gavin Newsom might have the hubris where he would go into one of those formats where he would be overconfident in himself, but I still think that he would ultimately fail. I mean, you just ask a couple questions. What's going on with the homelessness? What's up with the hospice fraud? What's the deal on the no water in the fire hydrants? I mean, it would be very easy to catch Gavin Newsom flat-footed by not asking hard questions, just asking questions about the state that he drove into the ground. Second thoughts, he would probably deny it because of that. I mean, when he started his own podcast, the Gavcast, he had Charlie Kirk on, and it was like, what he said, it was unfair to have boys and girls sports, and he got blasted for it and had to run away from those comments. NBC was actually pretty complimentary of Donald Trump during the interview, and it caught Donald. You don't often see Donald Trump get caught off guard, but he was caught off guard when NBC talked about how successful he's been on the border.
You've had success on immigration. Illegal border crossings are at historic lows, right?
You know, it's so nice that you said that.
But if you look at
Tom, what you just said.
It's true.
No, but it's so nice. I hope you air it. It's so nice what you said, because that's called good reporting.
I love it. I hope you air it. I hope you air that. I don't, you know how these companies are with the editing. Tom, I hope you air that. Gee whiz.
You know, it's so nice that you said that.
But if you look at
Tom, what you just said.
It's true.
No, but it's so nice. I hope you air it.
I hope you air that. I hope you air that portion, because golly, this is really kind of you to say. President Trump also tripled down on keeping Kristi Noem as DHS secretary. I think that this is the right move. You don't want to show any cracks in the armor. If there are issues with Kristi Noem and the Trump administration, keep them in-house for the time being as we move forward. Trump says, listen, he still believes in Kristi Noem.
Do you still believe in Kristi Noem to deliver on your vision of immigration?
Look, she was in charge of the border. The border's closed. I mean, everybody gives me A+ on the border. The border was a disaster. People were pouring into our country.
But what about the
They
enforcement?
don't even try and come up now. You know the beautiful thing? The caravans. I think I came up with that name. Thousands of people, 25, 30,000 people in a group. You know who sent them? Their countries. They sent the people that they didn't want. Not only criminals, people that didn't want to work hard, etc. They know who it is. They sent them into our country. We have nobody coming in anymore. We have very good. You just asked me, Christy, we have the best crime numbers that we've had in 125 years. I think she's doing a very good job. Again, public relations. She's not getting credit for the job that she does.
Doubling down on the support for Kristi Noem. She's not getting the credit that she deserves. And then you see President Trump in this interview with NBC kind of back up a little bit and take a more tempered approach to his immigration stance. He pumps the brakes a little bit, and he says, listen, we're focused on the worst first. And I understand the messaging. I understand it's an optics war. I have said on this show for a couple weeks now, I'm tired of that talking point. We've been doing this for a year. But the people in the middle are getting uncomfortable with the immigration enforcement. Tom Homan is on the record, by the way, saying that, listen, if you get caught up in an immigration raid, you're not off the table. Yes, the targeted enforcement operations are going to be for the worst first. We want to be able to get into these prisons so that way we can get these offenders off the streets, the rapists, the child rapists, the murderers. We got to get the worst first. I understand that. But when the goal is mass deportations, success looks like 30 million deportations. At a certain point, you're going to need to get everybody. Tom Owen said, listen, if you're here illegally, you're not off the table. But Trump is massaging the messaging in the mainstream media.
We are totally focused on criminals, really bad criminals. Now, you could say people that came in illegally are criminals, but I'm talking about murderers from different countries. We have 11,888 murderers that Biden and his group led into our country. We've captured a lot of them. We've brought some of them back. A lot of them we don't want to bring back because we don't trust the country that they're not sent back again.
Yeah.
Despite how strong the borders are, they'll figure a way to try and get in, and we don't want to, and we'll incarcerate them. But 11,888 murders.
Yeah.
We are after those people. We're after the drug dealers.
Right.
We are after, by the way, a big problem. They allowed to come into our country people from their mental institutions, people from insane asylums that are mentally ill and very dangerous. We're getting them out.
People in Minnesota refer to those individuals as neighbors, newcomers and neighbors. He's massaging the messaging. I don't think that that's going to change the operation as we see it. The messaging's being massaged. The operation doesn't seem to be changing, and Tom Homan seemed to confirm that last night on Fox News. I'll bring you the audio from Tom Homan on the way. Plus, we got a lot more from this Donald Trump NBC interview. A lot to get to, a little bit of time. 9:22, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand for my friends at Better Water LLC. If you got weird smells coming off your water, stains when you're washing your clothes, or just tastes awful when you're drinking the water, these are the folks you need to call. They can install what looks like a giant Brita filter for your entire house, or they can scale something down for right underneath your sink. Maybe you're like, I don't know, man. I think my water's okay. I'm not sure. You know, they'll test your water for free. You could have some nasty stuff in your water. We're talking iron, sulfur, chlorine, bacteria, even E. coli. Better Water will come to your home. They'll test your water for free. If you have any of that nasty stuff in your water, they can clean it up with a range of options. Reverse osmosis, specialized filters, UV lights, you name it. Better Water has an option for you. They're already doing this all over the place. It's a local company based out of Smyrna. They're treating the water at all the local coffee shops around town and the hospitals. These guys are the pros. Time for you to stop drinking the junk out of your tap. Call Better Water today and say, I need you to test my water. Chris Hand said, you got to get down here and test my water. 615-355-6063, 615-355-6063, or find them online, betterwater.com.
court ruling on the Covenant school shooting, and Amazon caves to the leftists in Oregon. Those stories at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. Jane Janes at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome. You're welcome. More with Jane on the way. Less than 2 minutes. Sorry. And Dan's not even here to defend himself.
That's okay.
That's all right.
You mean Dave?
Dave, that's right. Yeah. Dave. So funny. We played a clip earlier. Donald Trump, he's absolutely massaging the messaging for the deportations. He is taking a more relaxed tone. He's trying to calm people down. And I understand that. And when you're doing an interview on a mainstream media outlet like NBC, that's probably a good move. Here's the thing. I don't think that many things are going to change. And I'll tell you why. Because it was last night on Laura Ingraham. Tom Homan is in there. This is after his big press conference in Minnesota where he said he's drawn down 700 agents. Tom Homan gets on the Laura Ingraham show and he goes, Laura, nothing's changed.
So that it gives a lot of his hardcore supporters concern. Tonight, what can you tell us about that?
We're not backing down at all. I said today mass deportations will continue. And I said, no, if illegal aliens are not off the table, look, the normal footprint here is less than 150 agents. We got 2,400 boots on the ground here. And we're going to continue to enforce the immigration law. I'm out there tonight. We're forcing the immigration law. What we said from day one, January 20th, from day one, President Trump and I and other people in the administration said, we're going to prioritize the public safety threats, because that makes the most sense, because they pose the most danger. But we're not. We've arrested a lot of illegal aliens. Look at the numbers: over 700,000 deportations, which is a record for this agency, and 70% of those being criminals. I think that's a better stat than saying we arrested 700,000, deported them, and 70% were non-criminals. No, makes perfect sense for the safety and security of this country, because President Trump promised to make this country safe again. Mass deportations are here. They're coming. We're already breaking records, and we're not going to stop. If you're in the country illegally, we're looking for you. We're going to arrest you, and we're going to deport you.
Based Tom Homan, calming everyone's fears. Donald Trump is massaging the rhetoric. He is absolutely catering the message on NBC to the normies, to the middle, to the moderates, even to some on the left. Tom Homan, though, on Fox News says nothing's changed. The average footprint in a city of ICE is 150 agents. We got 2,400 on the ground in Minneapolis right now. So the mass deportations will continue, and take the messaging from Donald Trump with a grain of salt. He's doing that for the mass audience, but Tom Homan telling us exactly what the administration is going to continue to do. It's 9:31. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And NES has updated its outage map. It appears repairs are picking up the pace here. Now 4,200 outages reported. Tennessee State Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson telling Matt Murphy that the General Assembly may consider giving stakeholders outside of Nashville a say in appointing NES's governing board.
Maybe the city of Brentwood mayor or Rutherford County mayor, somebody, can have some appointing authority there, so there's some accountability.
During yesterday's briefing, a reporter told Mayor O'Connell she received an email message from the chair of the Electric Power Board expressing total confidence in NES leadership. A unanimous ruling from a state appeals court has records from the Covenant school shooting saying that they must be released. Channel 4's Marius Payton.
The appeals court ruled Metro Police can no longer claim the records are part of a pending investigation, since that investigation is now closed. Now, because of that, the court ruled police investigative records must be turned over.
And when it comes to the shooter's manifesto, the appeals court ordered the trial court to review it page by page to decide whether portions of it can still be withheld under school security exemptions. When it comes to the Melania movie, Amazon caved to the leftists in Oregon. The Lake Theater and Cafe in Lake Oswego promoted the film on its marquee this way. The sign read, "To defeat your enemy, you must know them. Melania starts on Friday." Another one said, "Does Melania wear Prada? Find out Friday." Well, Amazon, which acquired the rights to the film, was so unhappy about that it pulled the film after just a few days. Afterward, the marquee read, "Join Amazon Prime for free 2-day shipping." That is the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Listen, we love the guys over at Busy Bee. They service my house. You can call them as well. You can trust the guys over at Busy Bee. Now, winter, February is here. Valentine's Day is around the corner. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is doing something really cool. If you're a new customer and you join their yearly Beehive membership anytime this month, you're automatically entered into their Valentine's Sweetheart Deal giveaway. One winner is getting a relaxing massage from Third Coast Salt. They were just named Wilson County's best, and a $100 Visa gift card for a legit dinner date. Not bad. And they're doing the live drawing Friday, February 13th on Facebook. So keep an eye out for that and make sure you like Busy Bee's Facebook page. And while we're at it, Tennessee Weather does what Tennessee Weather does. When storms roll in, Busy Bee is ready to help with some serious savings to protect your home. You can get 40% off a whole home surge protector right now today with repairs. $500 off select whole home water repipes. And the one everybody knows that's still going on, the 93 are free special. It's the main line clog deal. Either they unclog your main line or you don't pay for it. It's that simple. Don't wait. Give Busy Bee a call today. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com. It's 9:38, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can find me all over social media at Chris Hand on Air, on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. I'm just, it's been a morning. So there was we send my youngest to like a mom's day out kind of daycare thing at this church near our house. And today they had donuts with dad, which of course I couldn't make.
Yeah.
Occupational hazard. I know parents, we all deal with this, right? Like there's always those big days that you can't make because you got to be at work and you're like, it sucks. Like, damn, like I really wish I could be there.
Yeah.
But my 8-year-old boy stepped up and he jumped in to be there for our 3-year-old.
Let's go.
So Brooks went in to step in and fill the role of dad.
What a champ.
Which
it was for the donuts.
What's that?
It was for the donuts.
Yeah, no, it's donut country too. Shout out to donut country in the
donut
borough.
country's so good.
But I get these pictures and it's so sweet. Millie's so excited to have Brooksy there with her, and so they're sending me all these pictures from Donuts with Dad Day, and they wrote this sheet all about my dad, and I don't know if you guys knew this about me, but it said my dad's name is Chris. Dan didn't know that. He is 5 months old. His job is drawing. His favorite food is berries. His favorite drink is coffee. Accurate. And he's really good at eating oranges.
Professional orange eater over here.
Nailed it. And the oranges is funny. So we'll peel clementines, and I'm a stickler for getting it off in one peel.
Yeah.
And she said to me before, like, wow, Dad, you are really good at that. But just proud dad moment when you got your 8-year-old boy stepping up and filling that gap. So shout out to Brooksy. We're
Very
talking about,
sweet.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's like, it's a bummer that you don't get to be there, but it's also like really cool to see the whole family fill the void.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's awesome. So shout out to Brooksy. We were talking about Donald Trump. He is sat down for an interview with NBC. We talked about how he's been massaging the messaging on the mass deportations. It's a good move to do that. Tom Homan saying nothing's changing. Mass deportations are coming, whether you like it or not. But I understand the thought process. You got to work over the normies. You got to work over the middle. You have to look out for this. Midterms are on the way. It's an optics war. But he was asked about cleaning up crime, which is a huge victory for the Trump administration heading into the midterms. And he said, as of right now, there's about 5 cities that they really, really are looking at to make safe, like they did with D.C. and like they have done with Memphis.
You headed to next.
Which is a huge victory for hang on one second. I got too much audio running in the background. This is Donald Trump last night. Where are you going next?
Where are you headed to next?
We have 5 cities that we're looking at very strongly, but we want to be invited. We will sometimes call the governors and
Are they cities like Chicago, Philadelphia? Are these the cities?
We could straighten out the crime in Chicago. We've already brought it down 25% just by being there. We could have Chicago be a safe city, just like D.C. is a safe city, just like all of these places that we've gone to. And I look forward. I didn't campaign on that. Yeah. I campaigned on law and order, but I didn't think I'd be going into individual cities and making them safe.
Anything else you can tell us about the 5 cities? The 5 cities, anything else? So Americans are ready?
We'll be announcing them very quickly.
We'll be announcing those cities soon. I would imagine we're looking at Chicago, L.A., Philadelphia. I don't know. What other ones? Memphis is good. Memphis, they've been working together. New Orleans, they've been working with the federal law enforcement. Maybe we're thinking New York. Maybe, I don't know. Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York. Maybe a place like Detroit. I don't know. What do you think the 5 cities are? Let me know on the text line, phone line, 615-737-9986. They'll be letting them know very soon. He was asked about Minneapolis. 700 federal agents will be leaving. We talked about that yesterday. We did the numbers. We ran the numbers before Tom Homan broke it down on Laura Ingram's show. And it was like you got 3,000 agents in there, and you removed 700, so it's about 2,300. That's kind of what we landed on yesterday. Tom Homan saying 2,400 agents are still in Minneapolis, much larger than the average footprint that you see in a city, which is about 150 agents. But President Trump was asked about that.
That big change on immigration, 700 officers leaving Minneapolis. Did that come from you?
Yes, it did. But it didn't come from me because I just wanted to do it. We are waiting for them to release prisoners, give us the murderers that they're holding, and all of the bad people, drug dealers, all of the bad people. We allowed in our country, I say 25 million people with an open border policy for 4 years under Biden and that group, the auto pen group, I call them. We allowed to come into our country people the likes of which no country would accept. And we're getting them out. Yeah. But we've gotten a lot of them out. So crime now in Minnesota, crime now in Minneapolis is down. Crime in all cities is down. And you know why it's down? It's down because of us. It's down in Chicago by 25%, despite the fact that we are always dealing with these people, and they happen to be Democrats.
Right. Speaking of
that don't know anything about crime prevention.
They don't. Well, and part of it, and I've talked to we have retired police officers that call in all the time from Chicago. Our friend Sean, and I've asked him. I was like, do you think that they don't want to solve the crime problem because of the federal money that comes in to help? And he's like, 100%. Like there's an incentive not to solve these problems. Like in all of these blue areas. Absolutely. Whether we're talking about homelessness, whether we're talking about addiction, whether we're talking about crime, it's almost like they're incentivized not to fix it. If you want the federal government to come in and help, they're more than willing to. You just got to ask. You just got to ask nicely. President Trump was asked what he's learned after going into Minneapolis. I thought this was a good question. Better answer from President Trump.
Minneapolis, what did you learn?
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals. But look, I've called the people. I've called the governor. I've called the mayor, spoke to them, had great conversations with them. And then I see them ranting and raving out there, literally as though a call wasn't made.
Says maybe I could have a little softer touch. And the internet's going crazy with this, and they're doing the taco thing. Trump always chickens out. But again, the messaging is being massaged. The actions are not. And I think that needs to be absolutely laid out and perfectly made clear. Because Tom Homan says, no, mass deportations are still on the table. Just because we moved out 700 agents doesn't mean that mass deportations aren't the goal. And if you're here illegally, just because we're focusing on the worst first, doesn't mean you're off the table. Tom Homan made that point last night on Laura Ingram's show. But this is what we're seeing. One of the most interesting parts of this interview, though, was when they brought up Venezuela. And they asked about the weapons used. And we have talked about that because I find it unbelievably fascinating that they used direct energy weapons to incapacitate the Venezuelans. They hit them with what's the technical term? A freaking laser beam. And then they started throwing up blood, bleeding from their ears and nose, and were dropped on the ground with like migraine headaches. Insane. The fact that we went into Venezuela, we're able to capture that dictator in a military base, losing no soldiers or equipment. It is one of the most unbelievable military operations of all time. Probably the most advanced military operation of all time, given the freaking laser beam that was deployed. Donald Trump was asked about that. And he actually, do you know he has a name for that weapon? He came up with the name. You know what he calls it? Calls it the discombobulator. That's the technical term. It's the discombobulator.
The weapon, the discombobulator.
Yeah,
what is that?
Discombobulator. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But
what does it do?
Let me just tell you, you know what it does? None of their equipment works. That's what it does. Everything was.
How does it?
It was my name. I'm very proud of the name. Everything was discombobulated. It was, practically a shot wasn't. They were ready.
Right.
And when we came, they couldn't do anything.
You saw this on the video. You could tell.
Tom, it discombobulated everything.
Nothing worked, even including humans.
Well, let's put it this way.
Out.
We lost no equipment in a very strong, and they're good fighters, great fighters. In a very bad environment, it was a military base, the biggest in South America. Because the house was in a base in South America. in a very, very tough environment, we lost no men and we lost no equipment.
It was the most sophisticated military operation of all time. I think that books are going to be written about this military operation before it's all said and done. And I will be one of the first ones to read those books because it's fascinating. We have heard the rumors of direct energy weapons on the internet for years and years and years, but to see them deployed in the field, unreal. Absolutely unreal. And it puts all of our enemies on notice. It was an unbelievable operation. If you want to join the conversation, as my friend Matt Murphy says, turn the monologue into a dialogue. Let's do it. 615-737-9986. Let's go to John in Goodlettsville. What's up, John? How are you?
Hey, how's it going, Chris?
Good. What do you got, man?
Man, I think I've seen them over across in the UK. A lot of they're getting a lot of their government officials out that are being associated with these Epstein files. And Trump came on yesterday and thinks the country should just move on, right? But what do you think? Do you think Trump's going to get through this, man? Because he's got a lot of bad accusations against him, a lot, and they're acting like they just put the files out and they don't exist. I think that's a tactic they're trying to use, is trying to act like there's nothing in there. But there's reputable evidence of so much stuff. I don't think I'm allowed to say.
I mean, you can say it. I'm not against it. What evidence did you see that was like
so outlandish? But these are our leaders, man. These are our leaders. Jeffrey Epstein was connected to every leader from every party, White House, all over. And it's not a Democrat-Republican thing, man. I know you try to get everybody riled up over the crazy left, but I'm starting to respect the crazy left because and they actually stand up. They may be wrong on a lot, but when a Republican's going to go to get outside in the code and stand up against these monsters hurting our children?
So, I mean, I think
that direct energy weapons, man, but that's not the thing we need to be talking about.
Yeah, the direct energy weapons are fascinating, though. I would say this: when it comes to the Epstein files, it was the conservatives that were yelling about it for the past 10 years. When the Democrats were silent about it, it was conservatives that were being called conspiracy theorists when the Pizzagate stuff was coming out. It was conservatives. It was conservatives that were called conspiracy theorists when we were asking about the John Podesta emails, where it was talking about pizza.
He's a sick guy.
But when we were talking about the pizza-related maps and all of that, which is code for child pornography, cheese pizza is known code for child pornography, and they were in Podesta emails during the WikiLeaks stuff. We were asking questions about it, and we were shut down. We were called lunatics. Yeah. We were called conspiracy theorists, just crazy people.
And that's the same thing. That's the same thing that happened, with Cash Patel saying there's no evidence, none of that either. I mean, you can say
and I
put it out, but it took a Democrat, Ro Khanna, and a Republican, Thomas Massey, to force the government. So the Democrats didn't put it out, and Trump organization surely didn't want it out. He's condemning everybody who pushed it, Margaret Trey, like he's doing that, and there's a reason behind that, man.
Yeah, and listen, I want more information on the Epstein files, and I want charges.
There's 3 million files, man. I hope you go through them. And Todd Blanche came out and specifically said that we are not releasing the ones that include murder, torture. So you can only imagine.
I aired that. I aired that live.
You got to think about this.
I aired that live.
Think about this. The same Republicans that were doing so good, they see this with their eyes. They know this. They are allowed to see it. So every day they go with now out exposing them that we already know, and they're complicit. Everyone's saying, well, Obama's not in the files. Obama's not in the files. He still shook hands with the hands who probably molested a child. You are complicit. You are complicit. And for Todd Blanche to say it ain't illegal to party with Jeffrey Epstein. You're going to tell me you're in the elite circles and you don't know what's going on? You're complicit. Our government's complicit. It's not a bipartisan. This is the people who rule us. We should not pay taxes. We shouldn't pay taxes until they get.
I'm a huge fan of tax fraud and tax evasion. Just to let the record show.
But look what they're doing with it. Look what they're doing with our tax money.
But so if you're
sex with kids.
I don't believe Donald Trump had sex with kids.
My bad. They were probably 15. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't believe that at all, because the Democrats only started using this as a weapon to bludgeon Trump. And if they had any evidence on him, you have to understand Merrick Garland and Biden's DOJ had all these files that they were sitting on too. So when they're trying to throw
it was illegal. They made it a law to give them up, bro. They didn't say
why do you keep interrupting me when I'm trying to make a point? Like John, you call in all the time.
Yeah.
I always know it's you. I always let you on the air, and I'm always open for a conversation. But you just talk over me. When Merrick Garland's Justice Department is raiding Mar-a-Lago at 5 a.m, and they're going after Trump with these ridiculous charges, and they're sitting on Epstein files that you say prove Donald Trump did X and prove Donald Trump did Y, why didn't they just use that against him?
Can I answer you that?
Yeah, I'm asking.
I know the answer.
Tell me.
The answer is because Democrats and Republicans. It says that the Democrats had it. None of them wanted them out.
But
not
they
the
were
top Democrats, not the top Republicans.
But they hated Trump so much. They hated Trump so much that they would use
you so much. I'm going to let the world know I'm a child rapist. No, that's not how it goes.
But they wouldn't have had to. But they wouldn't have had to release everything. They wouldn't have had to release everything. They wouldn't have had to release 3 million files to hang Trump if he was
Trump's
guilty.
in there so much, they only need to release a couple. He's in there 1,000 times, man.
Buddy, listen, John, and I know that's not the real name because you changed it.
You're in denial.
I'm not. Send me a link. Send me a link to the smoking gun. Send me a link from the files that they dumped.
3,000. That's the
No. But this is the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing, dude. Not everything that was released is an email from Jeffrey Epstein. Not everything released is a factual statement. A lot of these claims against Trump have already been debunked. So if you can provide me, can you not interrupt me? Can you not interrupt me?
Okay.
If you can provide me with a link that is a 100% smoking gun, I will give you the floor, my friend, and I will let you expose it. But as far as I've seen, there is none of those. And with the 3 million files that were released, the Democrats aren't talking about it today. They're running away from it. Why aren't the Democrats using this to bludgeon Trump? What do you mean they're not?
The little Japanese Democrat guy, I mean, he went viral yesterday for talking about Trump needs to resign. Todd Blanche went and talked to probably one of those guilty people if Jeffrey Epstein's dead, which he's not. One of the most person connected to this, Ghislaine Maxwell, Todd Blanche went and talked to her. Then they moved her to you're going to say, well, Trump probably didn't know. They moved her to a minimum security prison and gave her a puppy, bro. That's the Trump administration done that. At this point, if you think either administration, either party is for us, the people that listen to your show, that's driving on these roads, that are going into 9 to 5, if you think any of these people have our backs, I don't care what side they're on, you're wrong. We're trying to go to war with Iran for what? We don't want war with Iran. Israel wants that. We don't want war with.
But this is what you do. This is what you do, man. Like you're so upset about all of this that you were just like hopscotching from thing to thing to thing. Now we're talking about war with Iran. You tell me that I changed the subject.
To get people's mind off of
you tell me, but John, and I know that's not your name. Every time you call in, you tell me that there's all this evidence, and I say, okay, great. Like I'm open to it. Send me the link. Text it to me. Email it to me. chris.hand@cumulus.com. I am open to it. But you never do. You never send me that piece of information that is that smoking gun. And then you get upset, you hyperventilate, and then you change the subject. Like last time you called, you said, Clarence Thomas is raping kids. And I said, okay, do you have a link? Do you have a link? Send me the link. Send me the link.
Email directly.
I am more than open to looking at it. I'm more than open to looking at it. Send me the link.
There's a lot of people that's been raping and torturing kids, brother. And
again,
it's in both parties.
Send me the link.
Earn your paycheck and
send me the link.
Keep brainwashing people.
No. But here's the thing. You won't send me the link because there is no link. There's no link.
Cheerleader for pedophiles.
There's no link.
Child pedophile cheerleader, bro.
I've said to you, I'll give you the floor. You bring the evidence. You bring the evidence. You get the floor. You're more than I'm open to it. I've said on this radio program numerous times, if Donald Trump is implicated, he can get it too, and he should. hundreds of times.
So bad.
John,
So bad.
John, you never bring a link.
Have a good day,
You
man.
never bring
Have
a
a good
link.
day, man.
Yep. Hey,
Stay away
man.
from-
Yep. Thank you, John. 9:58. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 10 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There's an investigation underway after a man was found burned to death in the Midtown neighborhood early this morning. Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac.
Someone called 911 after seeing a man in a wheelchair on fire, but investigators say they did rush to the scene, and when they got here, they found that man. He died at the scene. Homicide detectives are now working to piece together what led up to this, and also arson detectives are looking into this as well. They're trying to figure out how this fire started, as well as the series of events that led up to that.
Channel 4 says staff from nearby Ascension St. Thomas Hospital went to the scene along with police and fire crews. Home health care fraud hits closer to home. A Wilson County woman has just been charged after an investigation by TBI. 56-year-old Kimberly Franklin turned herself in Friday after being indicted on 5 counts by a Wilson County grand jury. Franklin's charged with forging numerous documents intended to defraud TennCare, which is the state's Medicaid program. Kimberly Franklin is in jail now. TBI says it believes she may be charged with more crimes. This is how it sounded at Brentwood High School yesterday. The Tennessean reports about 125 students walked out of class to protest ICE operations. Some parents even showed up to support their class-skipping kids as well. President Trump, meantime, is making good on a promise that he made in September to protect religious expression in schools.
And today I'm also pleased to announce that the Department of Education is officially issuing its new guidance to protect the right to prayer in our public schools. That's a big deal.
That announcement this morning at the National Prayer Breakfast. The Supreme Court ruled in 1962 that school-sponsored mandatory prayer is prohibited. The president's initiative focuses on protecting voluntary prayer and student-led prayer. A day after payroll processor ADP released figures that show a marked slowdown in private industry hiring last month, The Labor Department is out with its weekly report on unemployment filings as well.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics says 231,000 out-of-work Americans filed their first claims for state jobless benefits in the week leading up to January 31st. That's an increase of 22,000 from the week before and the highest number since mid-December.
That's ABC's Jim Ryan. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us anywhere, iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch us. Super Talk TV's up and running. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. I didn't plan on talking about the Epstein files today, but we got a gang of callers that want to talk about it. And we're open to conversation here, and you're welcome to join the show as well. 615-737-9986. Let's start with D'Angelo in Brentwood, who doesn't think I'm being honest about the Epstein files. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mr. Chris?
I'm good. Thanks for calling in. I do appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
What's your take?
Let me ask you a question. I just want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Epstein files are concerned,
yeah,
I think that I don't think you've been honest with us about the Epstein files when it deals with the president. I just want to ask you this one question. If Barack Obama's name was in the Epstein files 1,000 times, how would you respond to that?
I mean, it's a good question. I'd probably be interested. I'd be intrigued. But I would probably look at the information before making a determination. So, let me put it this way. I don't like George Bush Sr. I don't like George Bush Sr. at all. And he was in the Epstein files. And in this latest drop, they said that he was involved. One of the files said he was involved in the satanic abuse and murder of a child. And not liking George Bush Sr., I looked at that and went, I don't know, that feels like a stretch. And I took that with a grain of salt. And I didn't bring it on the air and say, this is it, George Bush Sr., we got him. Because
well, you know
I don't necessarily believe that that's the case.
if Barack Obama's name was in there for over 1,000 times,
yeah,
I mean that would be gold for you, because you would blast them over and over and over again. And I mean, you can sit here and say all day that I would look at them. No, because. I think you've been compromised. I remember.
I will.
Yeah, I'm seriously, because like I remember probably about 6 months to a year ago, you was doing the crossover.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how you would now need to have ID in order to do to go on porn sites. And when they asked you about it, you said, yep, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And at that point in time, I was like, you know what? This man is kind of legit. I like him because, he's got some standards. He's got some values.
Well, I know what porn does to children, and I understand that the average age of a child exposed to porn is like 10 years old, and it messes with kids.
100%. But the problem is that if you talk about the Epstein files and you really dug into the fact that Donald Trump's name is in there over 1,000 times, something is not right about that. But if you started talking about that, you'll be just like the guy that comes on after you. People will start to dislike you, and you will get a lot of drama. You'll get a lot of hate callers simply for the fact is that you're going up against Donald Trump. But
here's the thing. D'Angelo, can I make a point real quick?
Yes, sir.
I've been digging in on the Epstein files for like a decade, okay? I was in the threads where Pizzagate was being exposed. When the WikiLeaks stuff came out about John Podesta, I was there. I watched when Ben Swan was one of the only reporters that would cover this, and he was ripped off the air. I watched as the mainstream media delegitimized the online conspiracies and said that we were all lunatics. I was also there when a video surfaced of Bradley Edwards. Do you know who Bradley Edwards is?
I have no idea.
Okay, so this is important, and I've dug this video up a few times. Bradley Edwards represented 70 trafficking victims by Epstein, okay? So 70 girls that were trafficked by Epstein starting in 2009, and he was instrumental in bringing Epstein down. I want to play this clip for you, D'Angelo, and then I want to get your reaction on the other side, okay? It's about a minute and 20 seconds, okay? This is Bradley Edwards, the attorney for 70 Epstein victims. I have played this clip many, many times, and I'll keep digging it up as many times as I need to. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. And if you've never heard it, this is going to be news to you.
Obviously, our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past, and there are those Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who accuse Trump of being involved in things like this. In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but Are those claims of though that case was dropped? It was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion, as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
Donald Trump had good information that checked out and helped the lawyer for 70 Epstein victims. So Bradley Edwards is the attorney for 70 Epstein victims. None of those 70 said Donald Trump did anything wrong to them. Donald Trump was the only one that answered the phone. Donald Trump gave them information that helped them. And what? Is Bradley Edwards compromised too?
No, he's not compromised.
That big change on immigration.
What do you say?
I just call it deflection. I call it deflection. Hey, listen, I'm glad he did that, but it still does not eliminate him. He's got his name is mentioned over 1,000+ times in those emails.
Yeah, but you're leaving out the part where some of those emails is trying to take Trump down before the 2016 election.
Well, the fact that
you know what I mean? So does that mean what are we doing? Some of those statements where he's mentioned have already been debunked, right? Have already been discussed in the public square, where the FBI is in there saying this witness was not credible. She makes accusations like this all the time. And again, I am open. I am open.
Are you talking about the old FBI, or are you talking about Trump's FBI?
It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Well, I'm sorry. Yes, it does. I do not trust our government. I do not trust our FBI. I don't.
But you're predisposed
because they lie to us.
But you're predisposed to not trust the Trump administration.
Oh no! Because he's lied in our faces.
Okay.
Literally, he has lied to us.
Okay,
and he has made no bones about it.
So, D'Angelo, listen, man. Let me take that at face value. Okay, let's take that statement that Donald Trump and his administration just lie, right?
Yes, they do.
Why didn't Merrick Garland go after him?
Oh, I don't know. I do not know.
Because there's nothing. Because there's nothing there. They had to go after him. They have to go after him on what is it? The Mar-a-Lago. How much is the estate valued? They had to go after him for trying to launch an insurrection. They lost all those court cases, by the way. If they had a smoking gun that he was involved with Epstein, you don't think they would have used that against him? They've used the Epstein files to bludgeon him constantly since he got back into office.
But you know what? I'll say like this. I think that we got some crooked Democrats. I think we got some crooked Republicans.
I agree. I agree with that statement.
I don't. The reason why I don't think they came after him when Biden was in office is because they did not want to expose Clinton. My thing is this: go after all of them. If they did it, then you go after all of them. Yeah. And I don't care if you're Republican or if you're Democrat. There's one other bone that I got to pick with.
Hold on. Can I just say I completely agree with that. Can we, I know you're on the other side of the aisle, and that's totally cool.
Actually, I'm not.
Well, but listen,
I'm too daggum conservative to be a Democrat, but I'm also too embarrassed to be a Republican.
Okay, that's
some of the stuff that the Republican Party has allowed is not the same party. I'm not welcome in that party. Okay,
you're not welcome in the Republican Party.
No, I'm not welcome in the party.
Why?
I am not welcomed in the party. Because. The only thing about me that is your color is the face of my hand, my palm print.
You're not allowed in the Republican Party because you're black.
No, you're exactly right.
Oh, weird.
I'm not one.
That's so weird because I didn't know Byron Donalds was white. I didn't know our HUD secretary was white.
Because I refuse to believe the stuff that Byron Donalds believes, and I refuse to say the stuff. And listen, trust me, I've got several black friends that are diehard conservatives, and we go back and forth all the time.
Well, they're not. They're apparently not Republicans because, as you said, they're not allowed in the party because they're black.
Well, I'm just being honest with you. That's how I feel. I want to be 100% transparent with you because of the color of my skin, because everything that I believe that Trump is doing is hurting people of color. All right.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? You know what really hurt people of color? The Joe Biden administration allowing in 20 million illegal aliens.
Well,
demonstrably hurt the black community first. It is crushed. The illegal immigration has crushed the black community.
How has it crushed the black community?
Because they're taking money from the benefits that go to lower income families, which historically tend to be black.
They're hurting all communities.
They're hurting all communities. They're stealing jobs. They're undercutting wages.
There are more whites that receive welfare than there are blacks. So
do you understand? Do you know what per capita means?
I understand what per capita is, but what I'm saying is that illegal immigration hurts all communities. I'm not just going to isolate the black community.
That's fair. No. I listen. I also agree with that. I just think it hurts the black community
They're not
first.
taking jobs from us either. They're not taking jobs from us.
I think that's bovine scatology, and we both know it.
Okay, Phil Valentine.
Yeah.
No.
One of the goats.
Yes, he is. He is. All right. But I'm just saying they're not taking jobs away from everybody. But there's one other issue I want to take up with you, and that is because you're so quick to defend the man that's in office right now.
Yep.
And even though we've got all these emails, all right, even though we have things that he says, right, you're willing to take his word for it, even though, whether you want to admit it or not, he has lied to the American people. However, back when the big issue was going on in, I believe, was it Indiana with the Haitians, you rode that horse that
they were eating the cats and eating the dogs.
Yeah. Do you really believe that? In all honesty,
there's a body cam video with a police officer looking at a woman, and he's like,
one situation, a crazy woman. One situation, a crazy woman.
And they eat cats and dogs in Haiti. No. I mean,
come on, dude. Come on, stop.
When you import the third world, you get the third world.
I can't believe. Even though you had people, the officials saying this is not true, your words were, I'd rather get the word from the people on the street than from these officials.
No. The city manager said it wasn't true. The body cam footage told a different story.
No. It wasn't the body cam footage. It was simply you had one lady that was mentally messed up. And she was doing crazy stuff.
And you had a lot of citizens in that area saying that they were losing pets at a crazy rate. And there's videos of guys in that same area leaving the ponds with swans and ducks and dead swans.
I just think that you did a lot of damage. You did a lot of damage to the Haitian community.
The Haitian community did damage to the Haitian community.
No, because you spread a lie. You went with one situation, an isolated incident, and you ran with it. And it really bothers me because you are a man of faith. And my whole thing is that we've got to understand that we serve one God.
Amen.
Talking about Christians,
yep.
We serve one God. And the fact of the matter is that some of the things that you say does no purpose in building up the kingdom. It does no purpose. That's just my take on it, man.
Hey, listen, D'Angelo, I love that we could have a good conversation, even though we disagree on a bunch of stuff. Yep. You're welcome to call in anytime you'd like, my friend. I do appreciate it. It's 10:21.
They're eating the dogs.
On Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're dealing with a lot of pain, back pain, neck pain, knee pain, herniated or bulging discs, you know that you can get back to a pain-free life, and you could be well on your way there already had you made this call to the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Time is of the essence. Dr. Mitchell and his team are the best, and they're going to get you back to a pain-free life. No needles, no opioids, no surgery. They got a brand new device. First office in Tennessee to have this. It's called the HydroWave. It's going to stimulate stem cells for real cellular healing. No surgery, no needles, no opioids. You pair that with non-surgical spinal and knee decompression. This is as advanced as it gets. They're using anti-gravity machines, robotic lasers. And here's a kicker. They'll actually review your MRI and explain it to you, and then tell you how to fix it. I know it's a crazy concept, but the Wellness Institute of Nashville will do it for you. You can start a pain-free life. It is possible. It starts with a phone call. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or find them online, painisbad.com.
Tell you where there's a boil water advisory for today and why Nike is under a federal investigation. Those stories at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 1026, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. I got a gang of people that want to talk. I didn't expect the phone lines to be as jammed as they were. We had other stuff to get to.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's your show, not mine. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Brian on the road. What's up, Brian?
Hey, bro. Is this Steve?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, D'Angelo was talking to another guy, I think.
Yeah.
D'Angelo's a racist. I mean, when you admit what he admitted and you say things that he said, my son, I've said this before, my son was a cop for a while, and you stereotype people no matter what. It's just a human nature thing. And I stereotype you as a friend and Mason because I think we know where we're talking. That doesn't mean we don't have disagreements, but you don't call people up and paint them with the broad brush when you don't know them. And I think that's what he did with you. He played his cards, and I think you called him out on it, and I appreciate that. But defending the Haitians, defending the Somalians, you know, like I said, we can stereotype when they have like behaviors, And that doesn't mean that the woman that ate the cat in Ohio, wherever it was, that doesn't mean that obviously to us, she's mentally deranged.
Yeah.
And the cop that talked to her, he didn't run that camera. That's done by some objective company that they hired, I guess, and trust.
Yep.
And it is what it is. So don't deny it.
Well, and he also just gets on the air and he says he doesn't trust anything the government says, but we're going to trust the local government of this town in Ohio, that everything's on the up and up and everything's fine.
That's right. You can't have it both ways, D'Angelo, if you're listening. You can't say one thing and then the other. Two things can be true at the same time, as we say all the time in the conservative party. Have a good day, bro.
Hey, man, you too. I will say this about D'Angelo. While we disagreed on just about everything, I'm grateful for those kinds of calls. I don't think that he was like, we get callers from time to time that are just like yelling over us. I think D'Angelo was like actually wanting to have a conversation.
And we appreciate him for that.
100%. 100%. Bobby, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Bob?
Hey, nothing much, Chris. Hey, that other caller you had that called in earlier, I think he said his name was John. He was all upset.
Yep.
The last time he called him before that was Mike.
Yep.
I remember his voice and everything. But here's the deal with D'Angelo. Hey, he wants to talk about you the way you supposedly talk about the Haitians and everything. His man, the one he loves so much, President Barack Hussein Obama, he went more against his own people, the black people, than he did anybody. I mean, he stirred up more race relations than anybody I ever know, and I'm going to leave it at this after I tell you this. He's so worried about them Epstein files. Well, when they finally come out about Bill Clinton, old D'Angelo's going to be a little surprised he was in that hot tub with him.
Hey, I appreciate the call, Bobby. One of the things that, listen, I've said on the Epstein files over and over and over again, if there is a smoking gun, send me a link from the drop. I'll read it. Like I'm not opposed to new evidence changing my mind. I don't think anybody should be opposed to new evidence changing their mind. And I'm here for it. If you have the evidence, I have not seen it yet. When did the files get dropped? It was last Friday. So we've had almost a week. We've had almost a week of these files. If there was a smoking gun against Trump, it would be everywhere. It would be on CNN. It would be on MS Now. It'd be on NBC, ABC, CBS. He would be asked constantly about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't noticed that from the mainstream media. I haven't seen the Democrats highlighting that. Chuck Schumer hasn't brought out an email. Ro Khanna hasn't brought out an email. Thomas Massie hasn't brought out an email. Eric Swalwell, you know what I mean? Go down the list. Is there any smoking gun anywhere? If anybody has a link that without a shadow of a doubt proves Donald Trump is guilty in all of this, I'm open to it. And I've said that from the jump. But nobody ever sends a link. I wonder why. 10:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and NES is chipping away at its outages this morning, now reporting nearly 4,000 customers without power. In Overton County, a boil water advisory. The water company there saying it's trying to find a leak.
Overton 911 says that potable water distribution sites are being set up for those without water. Schools in the county are closed today as well as tomorrow.
Channel 4's Marius Payton there in Manchester. A water conservation request has been issued by the Hillsville Utility District. In an email message, Hillsville says there's a regional supply constraint for surrounding counties and districts. The utility is asking customers only to use water for essential needs. Nike under federal investigation over allegations that its diversity initiatives discriminate against white employees and job applicants. White employees also say they were disproportionately targeted for layoffs. The Equal Opportunity Commission saying that Nike is refusing to comply with a subpoena seeking information. Last week, Nike announced it'll cut 775 jobs, primarily affecting distribution centers in Tennessee and Mississippi. President Trump appearing at the prayer breakfast in Washington, D.C. this morning.
And last time I came, I got in at 4 a.m. They said, "Sir, you're going to be speaking at 7." I said, "Really? Oh, that's wonderful." I said, where? National Prayer Breakfast. I said, I'll be there. I'm afraid not to be. I need all the help I can get.
On a more serious note, the president also announced today the Department of Education is issuing new guidance to protect the right to prayer in public schools. That's the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Glock store. And you probably heard they lost power last week. Yeah, them and everybody else in Nashville. The difference was, while most Nashville homes were using candlelight to see things, the guys at the Glock store, they were having to deal with muzzle flash. So it was a messy situation. I'm kidding. Power's back on at the Glock store, so they're up and running. The retail showroom and the Shoot 270 indoor ranges are open for business, ready to offer some incredible deals during the Great Ice Storm of 2026 sale. Deals include the new Glock GTL2 weapon lights for less than $155, 43X magazines for under $19, the Savior Specialist range bags, and the limited edition Desert Night and Tiger Stripe camo. They're in stock, on sale, and there's much more. Plus, the brand new M1X Coyote frames are also in stock now and ready for immediate pickup. And yes, when you pre-order that new Gen 6 Glock, you mention my name, Chris Hand. Say you heard it on the Chris Hand Show. You'll get a free extra magazine when you pick it up. That's my friends at the Glock store, powered up, ready for business. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, always open online. Glockstore.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
1037, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We've had a changing of the guard. Ken Weaver is now in the newsroom. Mason Fleming is still producing.
What's going on, Brother Hand and Brother Mason?
We're rocking. We're rocking over here. We're welcoming anyone into the show that wants to come into the show. My friend Josh Tifo is going to be joining us at 11 o'clock. He's a senior director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Looking forward to that conversation. But in the meantime, 615-737-9986. We've had a lot of good callers. I love having good conversations. Me and Mason were talking off the air. We had D'Angelo call in.
Yep.
And D'Angelo said he was too conservative to be a Democrat, but too embarrassed to be a Republican. And he knows that the Republicans won't let him in because he's black. And I was like, that's just asinine on so many levels and like racist. But we actually had a good conversation. And I don't want to deter people from having good conversations, whether we agree or disagree. Like, if we can have a reasonable back and forth, I'm here for it. So whether you agree or disagree, 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. I got a text here. And I said fair take. Fair take. 7885 said, I agree that you seem to give Trump the benefit of the doubt in many circumstances. But I don't believe in this case that you would do that as much as you love kids, your daughter. I don't think you would try to hide the truth or back Trump if you believed he was involved at that level, and your reasoning is on point. I do give President Trump the benefit of the doubt. I do. But no, there's no way I would in this case. None. There is a certain line in the sand that you don't cross, and that is the line, my friends. And if Trump was guilty of any wrongdoing, I would be more than open to talking about it. I would. That being said, every time somebody tells me that Trump has been implicated, that he is guilty, I ask him for one simple thing: the link. Send me the link from the 3 million file drop. And you know what I have yet to receive from any of these people? A link. Never see it. Never get it. I will always allow new information to change my mind. And I think everybody should actually approach life that way. You don't know what you don't know. And you got to be humble enough to change your mind when you see new information. I haven't seen any of that yet. But I'll tell you first, and I'll tell you honestly, if I ever see anything that would lead me to believe that Donald Trump is guilty in the Epstein files, I would absolutely roast him. It's the only right thing to do. That's it. Also, if there were any links in the Epstein files, I think the mainstream media would be roasting him. I think the Democrats would be roasting him. I don't think that we would have gone, almost a week now, and this story has disappeared from CNN, MS Now, NBC, didn't ask him about it. There's no there. There's nothing. The NBC interview was great. And one of the things that I think is important to point out, NBC was actually really surprised with President Trump. And they made a point to let people know after this interview what the president did on his way out the door.
Also want to mention, after our interview off camera, the president called Savannah Guthrie and spoke to her, offering words of support for her and her family as they search for their mother.
Class act. Absolute class act. President Trump also posted on True Social, I spoke with Savannah Guthrie, let her know that I'm directing all federal law enforcement to be at the families and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. We're deploying all resources to get her mother home safely. The prayers of our nation are with her and her family. God bless and protect Nancy, President Donald J. Trump. I am very interested in this story. I don't know where it's going to go. There are rumors online that go every which way, that maybe it had something to do with the brother-in-law. Maybe it had something to do with insurance money. Maybe it was cartels. It's interesting. Do you think the public's perception would change on the mass deportations if Savannah Guthrie's mother was kidnapped by cartels and held for ransom? I think it would. I absolutely think it would. They posted a video, Savannah Guthrie, a heartbreaking video. It's about 4 minutes long. I don't think we're going to play the whole thing. But she just looks absolutely wrecked. Her family looks absolutely wrecked. Looks like she hasn't slept in days, and I can't blame her. I don't know how I'd feel. I thank the good Lord that I've never had to deal with anything like this. I don't know how they're dealing with it. I don't know how they made it through this video. I'll play some of it for you.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day.
Heart-wrenching. I mean, I can't imagine what that family is going through right now. And prayers to that family. We got timelines coming out of the mysterious disappearance. It was she was last seen 8:45 Saturday night. She was dropped off at her house by her children. Sunday, February 1st, investigators believe that she was abducted in her sleep early Sunday morning. The exact time of her apparent abduction is not clear. The sheriff noted that Nancy Guthrie could die without access to her medication in 24 hours. 11 a.m. Sunday, someone who attends church with Nancy called the family to report that she never made it to services, and that's kind of when the red flags went off. Monday, the sheriff in the area pleaded with the public for help at a news conference, letting everybody know that it was a crime scene. She didn't leave on her own. Then we got Tuesday, the reporters, the sheriff talking with reporters, offering no real new information. Wednesday, the sheriff saying no suspect has been identified. And he said, we've heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we're doing everything we can. We're ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. This is in that video. We need to know without a doubt that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Heartbreaking. And the ransom notes, you never know. Like, is this because one of the rumors that I've heard is that they're demanding Bitcoin in the ransom notes that have been sent to media outlets. That is very, very hard to trace, essentially untraceable. So is that somebody who is using this as an opportunity to try and fleece some people for Bitcoin, or is that the person that abducted the mother? We don't know. We don't know. Praying that it gets resolved soon. The longer it goes on, the worse the outcome is going to be. And I just hope that we get some news on that soon for the Guthrie family. President Trump again saying, you know, we're using, we're putting all the federal resources that they need at their disposal. So it's a crazy story, and we pray that it gets resolved quickly. Elsewhere in the news, J.D. Vance sat down with Megyn Kelly yesterday. He was asked about Don Lemon, who you may know has an affinity for busting up church services with radical leftists. J.D. Vance called him the dumbest man in television.
Who claims to be a member of it is Don Lemon, who's been arrested now.
The dumbest man in television?
Yeah, I mean, that's
Formally.
saying something. He's under arrest because he stormed a church in the middle of a Sunday service, along with a lot of other rioters, and disrupted people trying to worship. He's trying to cloak himself in the First Amendment, saying this is an attack on freedom of the press. And you say what?
Well, I say first, Don, no one's objecting to you standing outside of a church and protesting. No one's objecting to you no one's saying you can't protest the Trump administration's immigration policies, or frankly, our policies on anything else. What you cannot do is go into somebody's house of worship and prevent them from exercising their First Amendment right to the free exercise of religion. That's what happened. By the way, there's a federal law on the books that says you're not allowed to interrupt churches. You're not allowed to prevent people from entering or leaving a church. And the Biden administration aggressively prosecuted people. Where was Don Lemon when people were getting aggressively prosecuted for sham violations of the FACE Act? We have a rock solid violation of the FACE Act, which is you were sticking a microphone in the face of a minister during the church service while the people you were with were preventing people from leaving. That's a violation of the law. That's not about the First Amendment. You care about criticizing our immigration policies, then stand outside the church and protest. You don't get to violate other people's rights. And if you do, the Trump administration, we're going to try to do everything that we can to make sure you suffer legal consequences.
God bless him for that. You know, the people inside that church thought that they were going to be shot and killed, right? Like they 100% thought that a terror attack was about to happen. The way they fled really outlines that. An old lady ran out of there so fast she slipped on the ice and broke her arm. It was a mostly peaceful protest. Don't worry. He was also asked about Trump, and he gave a glowing review about President Trump, saying the guy you see in front of the camera is exactly who you see behind the scenes. That is him all the time.
If Washington is an insincere place, I think you said that and said it well, he is like the polar opposite. He just says what's on his mind. Yeah. He doesn't care how anybody's going to react to it. What you see is what you get. And people always ask, well, what is he like in private? He is in private exactly like he is when he's in front of a camera. And I think that you're right. There are some members of the press who kind of like him for it, then some members of the press who don't. And then I think for most members of the press, it's a little bit of both, right? Like they admire the game, even if for some political reason they just can't admit that they actually like him, but most of them actually do.
They hate themselves for laughing.
Exactly. There was a moment in the Oval Office, I wasn't even in there, but I was in the West Wing, and somebody sent me where he was talking to Caitlin Collins, who's the CNN anchor. And I have a decent relationship with Caitlin Collins, which is unusual given that she's from CNN. But the president, she's asking a question. The president says, "Why don't you ever smile?"
Yeah.
And it's actually so perceptive. Even if you're asking a tough question, even if you take your job very seriously, why does it always have to be so antagonistic?
Well,
did you miss that from the Oval Office the other day, where President Trump did torch Caitlin Collins? He looked at her like, why don't you ever smile?
What do you say?
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face. No. I don't think anybody at CNN ever seems to smile. JD Vance was also asked about the SAVE Act. I want to talk about the SAVE Act on the way. A lot of movement on the SAVE Act. And is John Thune changing his tune? We'll talk about that and more on the way. 10:50, it's Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. I'm excited to tell you about Shane Ring. Shane Ring is excited to tell you about all the options that you have for insurance. If you think that you got to wait for open enrollment, that's wrong. That's just what the big guys want you to believe. With Cover Nash, you can get covered today. No waiting, no gimmicks, right now. You missed open enrollment, no problem. You lost your job coverage, they got you covered. You're just sick of overpriced junk insurance? Well, you're in the right place. See, Cover Nash partners with over 75 top-rated insurance companies, including brand new nationwide PPO plans with deductibles as low as $250, flat $50 doctor visits, ACA-compliant plans, plans for individuals, families, self-employed people, small businesses. It's for everybody. They got a perfect plan for you, your needs, your budget. Stop overpaying, stop waiting, and stop thinking you're stuck. Go to covernash.com or pick up the phone and call Shane Ring today. 615-465-0023. That's 615-465-0023. Get you some health insurance on your terms, not the government's. Covernash.com.
A disturbing scene in Nashville. Police investigating after a man in a wheelchair is found on fire. Details coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
What?
Yeah.
A man in a wheelchair was found on fire?
Yep. Fully engulfed.
Where at?
It says right here along Church Street in Midtown.
What in the world? All right. Ken Weaver's got the latest on that on the way in the headlines, and we're looking forward to that. I got Josh Tipo in studio. He's a senior director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. First thing he does, he comes into the studio. He goes, "Do you hear what happened at VW in Chattanooga?" Tell everybody what happened at VW in Chattanooga.
So apparently the auto workers just negotiated a 20% across the board raise for everybody over there making VW vehicles in Chattanooga. I love seeing stories like this in my home state in light of the doom and gloom I see from AI optimization. All these people freak out that between the end of last year and early this year, Amazon cut 30,000 corporate employees. AI is now the number one worry and fear of the American worker statistically. It's no longer burnout. It's now AI. And I look at what needs to happen in Tennessee to protect our workers and protect our future, protect our families. I talk a lot about the importance of men rising up and supporting women and supporting children and building those one-income households. Economically, that only works if there are great, solid jobs for those men to take. I love seeing that we took care of our workers here in Tennessee. And instead of fearing what's going to happen on the macro with AI optimization, let's fight and scratch and claw for workers here in Tennessee to have good lives.
Amen. I mean, that's some good news. And shout out to those guys for negotiating themselves a pay raise. It's not easy to do. I want to talk to you about the SAVE Act and where you think we are in the country as far as getting it passed. J.D. Vance was asked about it yesterday during an interview with Megyn Kelly. And during this interview with Megyn Kelly, J.D. Vance called on the Senate to nuke the filibuster so we could get this passed. Let me play you this clip.
Very hard right now to get the Senate to approve it, because if the Senate approves it, we think the House would approve it too. Now, that would require, I think, some Republican senators who maybe they're a little too attached to the filibuster, maybe they're a little too attached to Senate procedure. This is about the integrity of American democracy. Like, do the people control who they elect, or do some shady people? It's like, who actually controls the people who cast the ballots or the people who count the ballots? We want the sovereignty to be with the people who cast the ballots, and that's why we have to get the SAVE Act passed. And you'll hear people say all the time, and I love this argument. They'll say, well, if you look at this precinct, only 3 illegal aliens voted in this election. Number one, that's 3 illegal aliens too many. And number two, if it's not a big problem, then why not just allow us to check ID and exercise some basic precautions to prevent illegal aliens from voting? I never quite understand the person who says, on the one hand, this never happens, and on the other hand, your effort to prevent it from happening is a threat to American democracy, which is fundamentally the Democrats' argument. By the way, it's like an 85-15 issue.
Yeah.
It's like 90-10, actually. 76% of black voters support it, and that's, it's Jim Crow 2.0. You know that, right?
Well, it makes all the rational sense in the world, and I'm pessimistic that the Senate's going to get something done. Yes, there are some of them who love tradition and they love procedure. Here's the real story. There are, not all of them, but there are some members of the United States Senate who are bought and paid for and controlled, and some of them blackmailed by very bad actors in D.C. and in the world. And it would be a huge blow to the left if all of a sudden you have voter ID in the entire nation and they lose that turnout bump from illegal aliens. So behind the scenes, prepping for the 2024 election, Charlie and Tyler Boyer and I, we would have a lot of conversations planning out Chase the Vote, planning out where we would deploy our full-time activists, where we needed to plan the biggest events. And we had a rough draft estimate in each state of what type of bump we thought the left was going to get from illegals voting, essentially from election fraud. Some of these states like Michigan and Wisconsin, internally, we would estimate, okay, they're going to get a 4 or 5% bump there. What? If the left doesn't have that bump, then they don't compete in any of these soft blue states. A lot of these soft blue states are actually purple states. You look at how crazy the left gets, it makes a lot of sense. How many people do you know, Democrat or Republican, who think it's okay to chop the balls off of a 12-year-old boy?
Right.
That was basically the official position of the left going into 2024. How many of these people, even if they quietly think it's okay, would publicly celebrate abortion as if it's something amazing to have in your family? The left's positions in 2024 and the positions they still largely have now are so deeply unpopular. They can only win in deep blue states and medium blue states. If we pass the SAVE Act, they're not competitive for a long time, or at least they're not competitive until they jettison the most ridiculous leftist LGBTQ abortion type messaging. You look at where the left's going, they're going towards this economic populism, preying on the fears that a lot of people have about AI optimization. The only way they can make a play for the hearts and souls of the country is dropping all this ridiculous leftist stuff.
Hold on to that thought. We got to hit the news, and we'll come back and we'll dive more into the SAVE Act when we return. It's 11:02. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, we've got some road work getting in the way. It is eastbound 24 in Smyrna, that is. The left 2 lanes are blocked for that road work. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Metro Police investigating after a man in a wheelchair was found fully engulfed in flames overnight downtown. Here's Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac.
Metro Police say that someone walking by, saw a man on fire behind me at this intersection along 20th Avenue North. And when crews arrived, police say the man who was in a wheelchair was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators, they blocked off part of that roadway while homicide and arson detectives worked to figure out how he died and caught on fire.
Tennessee's Court of Appeals has ruled that records from the Covenant school shooting investigation must be released to the public. The unanimous decision overturns a lower court ruling that kept the files sealed for nearly 2 years. Metro Police had denied all records requests. Even after the investigation closed last April, the case now returns to the trial court to determine what can be released and what must be redacted. This morning in Arizona, the search for Today host Savannah Guthrie's mother intensifies as she delivers a heart-wrenching message to her mother and whoever has her, pleading for her safe return. ABC's Aaron Katursky with details.
Police have said Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home. In their Instagram post, her children refer to her by name and as a grandmother.
Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light.
In the scaled-down personal video, the Today host and her siblings are approachable and anguished.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can listen to that show anywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch us on Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Free to do. Really helps out the radio station. Joined in studio by our friend Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. We were talking about the SAVE Act before we hit the break, and I had to pump the brakes on Josh because you were about to go off. You said something, though, that was very, very interesting to me. That during the 2024 campaign, you and Charlie and Tyler are sitting down and you calculated that these blue states are receiving 4 to 5% of a bump from illegal alien votes, or I guess voter fraud in general. It doesn't have to be illegal aliens, but voter fraud.
And it varied depending on the state, but we would have to make rough draft estimates of exactly how much fraud we thought there was going to be in every state. In political operation, it's just accepted. Be like, yeah, I mean, we got Atlanta in that state, so Georgia's probably going to be like 2-3% margin of fraud we're going to have to overcome. And you can complain about it, or you can say, okay, so we're going to win Georgia by 3 points. That's essentially what we did this last election. The everyday American people who voted for Donald Trump care so much about securing our elections. They know this stuff is real. I love that Trump had Tulsi Gabbard and the feds raid the Fulton County Election Center so that they can audit those ballots and audit the whole system. And I know the left is freaking out. They're saying that it's a federal overreach, assault on democracy. How is it assault on democracy to actually make sure that we're accurately counting votes? Doesn't that mean the protection of democracy?
Well, and if you had nothing to hide, why are you freaking out?
This kind of makes me think of like a dirtbag husband who gets mad when his wife's on his phone. Be like, why are you mad, bro? Like, what are you hiding?
Yeah.
The left wouldn't be getting mad about this Fulton County raid if they had nothing to hide. I'll just leave it at that.
What are you hearing about Fulton County and what the next steps are? I know DNI Gabbard is on the ground, while they're doing the raid. Are you hearing anything that might come of this?
Something might come of it, but unless these people are complete morons, they destroyed a lot of the evidence. So I hope and pray we can get something done. Maybe we can get some people to talk. I have a lot of faith in Tulsi. Tulsi's one of the smartest people I know. So we might see something come out of it, but it's been many years since the crime. I mean, I'm afraid it might have gone cold. I'm afraid that they might have done a decent job of cleaning up their mess. But who knows? Who knows?
What do you think about the theories online when it comes to Venezuela and the voting machines? You know, Trump was posting that on Truth Social. Was it Emerald Robinson's reporting about the vote count being changed as they're routing through Smartmatic and Dominion machines in Venezuela? And now that we got Maduro, everything's going to change and come out. Are you hearing anything like that?
So it may or may not be true. I've heard a lot of wild things kind of in that sphere over the last several years, essentially the argument that they're explicitly changing the vote tallies on the back end. And I'm sure it's happening in some areas. I don't know if it's happening in a widespread way. There's one way I know that widespread voter fraud happens, and this is from on-the-ground stories I've heard ever since the 2020 election, including one that I heard the morning after the 2020 election that I'll tell in a little bit. It's very haunting. I know for a fact that the left fights for these multi-day counting delays because you have all these ballots that are just floating out there, whether it's universal mail-in ballots, whether it be just hundreds of thousands or millions of absentee ballots. I know that the left fights for the multi-day counting delays because they have some type of operation where they go out and find likely Democrats who did not vote in the system, and then they fill out the ballots for them and insert them. So I'll tell you a story. This is a wild story. So I only know this because it was my friend's sister. So my friend's sister was one of the GOP volunteers in that infamous Detroit counting center.
Where they put the poster board over the windows.
Over the windows. There was hundreds of thousands of absentee ballots that showed up at 3 a.m. and almost all of them were Democrat. So this lady, my friend's sister, calls me the morning after the 2020 election in a panic. She's in like full fight or flight. And she calls me and says that, quote, this very big man walked up to me and my friend, the other GOP volunteer, and said, "You're going to leave right now or you're going to die." And she left, probably a good decision, and then watched the news and saw that there was this huge middle of the night ballot dump at that exact counting center. And it hit me the day after the election, the fraud stuff is real. So I know that they do that. And I've heard from a lot of people I trust, that there's some type of sophisticated operation where they insert ballots into the system when they fight for these multi-day count extensions, where, I mean, it's very easy. You just analyze all the people who voted. You take all the likely Democrat voters who did not vote, who did not show up, and if you have access to a lot of empty ballots, you fill them out and you insert them. That is the number one way I'm convinced that they cheat.
So if that's the number one way, then the SAVE Act
would eliminate all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is why the left is going scorched earth. And the reason why some Republican senators are scared to support this is because they have been captured by the left. Maybe they're being blackmailed. Maybe they're being paid off. Any Republican senator who does not have the guts to support this, not just for the effect that it has securing our democratic republic, but for the obvious positive effect it has on the GOP. We would win any reasonably close state with a federal act like this. Any GOP senator who is not doing cartwheels and jumping jacks in celebration of legislation like this is probably being co-opted or blackmailed by the left.
So the Langfords, the Thunes, etc. Yeah.
I make no explicit individual accusations, but any GOP senator who's not all for this, you got to ask, why on earth would you not be for this? You could be a bad guy and be for this because of how much it helps your party.
Okay, so we have a mutual friend, Dave Medina. He's running for governor in Oregon. Does the SAVE Act put a state like Oregon in play for conservatives?
I wish it did. And maybe David has the campaign of a century and he wins, and I hope he does. I hear he's a great guy. Oregon, though, there's a lot of people on the left. And another thing that keeps a lot of these blue states out of play for now is blue state flight. So a lot of conservative Oregon families the last 10 years, as things got really, really bad, they moved to Texas, they moved to Florida, they moved to Tennessee. So it would make things better. We would certainly win a lot more congressionally, but statewide in the deep blue states, the SAVE Act wouldn't really help us because, yes, you don't have a ton of illegals voting. That's nice, but they don't need a lot of illegals voting because so many of the conservatives already left.
But it's really going to help in the Pennsylvanias, the Michigans, the Arizona, the Georgia.
If we pass this, we could sweep every battleground and close to battleground state in 28, and we could keep the House. If we do this, there's a good chance we keep the House.
Yeah, so it begs the reason, why haven't you done it yet? John Thune says, well, it takes a lot of time. And he said that, and I found myself infuriated because I was like, okay, well, what have you done with the time you've had already? I mean, what are the massive wins besides the big, beautiful bill that we can look at the Senate and John Thune and be like, dude, nailed it?
I'll tell you what I'm sensing from young America right now. A ton of passion and a ton of frustration with our current GOP leadership. A lot of them love Donald Trump. They love J.D. Vance, and they don't like a lot of other Republicans. It's a big problem. It's a big, big problem when Trump and Vance aren't on the ticket in 2026.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and we're blessed to have a couple senators in the state of Tennessee that do support the SAVE Act, both Senator Haggerty and Senator Blackburn, but that's not the reality everywhere.
Unfortunately, it's not. And that tells you that they must be good people because nobody can blackmail them. They must actually love their families.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the decentralization of government, and you had this idea where these reps don't need to be in D.C. Like with the current advances of technology, the biometric data, they should be living in their districts. They should be living in their state, not in D.C. That would that eliminate the blackmail that you see?
It would eliminate an enormous amount of the lobbyist pressure and a lot of behind the scenes deep state pressure on congressmen and on senators, because it's this sad, repetitive, tired tale that we see over and over and over again. Some young, ambitious congressman goes off to D.C. and they're going to make a difference. And they get lonely. They don't spend a lot of time with their family. They have to go along with a lot of special interests if they're going to get funding for re-election. A lot of them, they have infidelity issues. They're not exactly walking the straight and narrow. This happens over and over and over again, even with federal officials representing Tennessee. And what's the best way that you can get all of these federal Congress members out of D.C. and away from those special interests trying to wine and dine them at 9 p.m. when they're alone at Joe's Seafood, that really good seafood place in D.C. where you see all the lobbyists. You get them away from there and back hanging out with their wife and hanging out in district and actually learning what the people in their state care about. You change most of the votes to remote, heavily biometric secured voting. I mean, you scan the retinas and you scan the fingerprints and you 110% make sure that's the congressman, that's the senator, and then you force them to spend almost all of their time in the district where they live, in the state where they live. And guess what? They're going to be more scared of the everyday people in their state than the lobbyists, because the everyday people in their state are going to be the ones they see at the grocery store every week, not the lobbyists.
It's the move. I mean, I'm convinced, and that's also why I'm convinced it'll never happen.
Oh, both parties will go totally scorched earth.
Yeah.
Because think about it, if I were a bad person and I call up some mega corporation and I'm like, I've had it being this grassroots guy. I'm gonna be a lobbyist. Pay me $4 million a year. How would I feel if I can't go talk to like 52 members of Congress on the same day? I'd be furious. I've got to fly around the country to actually try to corrupt these people. So yes, the lobbying behemoth on both sides of the spectrum from both parties would absolutely hate this, and it'd be almost politically impossible, but it would completely change the country.
When you talk about blackmail and the deep state, how much of it do you think is Epstein-esque? How much of it is foreign governments? And how much of it is lobbyists saying, hey, it'd be a shame if your wife found this out?
So it's all of the above, and I'm going to tell you something super depressing about the Epstein situation. Everything that we're seeing with the Epstein files is just scratching the surface of the corruption really going on in America and in the world. This is a highly publicized, highly politicized situation, which has led to enough pressure where we've actually been able to see most of what's going on in that situation. It is the norm for the most rich and powerful people in society to do a lot of very bad things. And I look at where we are now. It makes me think of a Wall Street Journal article that was posted a few days ago that talked about how America's become a post-vice society. It was a very depressing but accurate article that talked about how all these things that socially we used to look down upon, like smoking weed and getting drunk and gambling, are now just in American culture. It'd be like, don't judge. Why do you have a problem with me doing that, bro? We used to have a problem with people who got drunk in public. We'd be like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're not a functioning member of society. We used to think you were a delinquent if you smoke marijuana and you're walking around in the streets and I have to smell it. It has to get on my suit. We used to have a problem with people who were just gambling every day. And now we celebrate and accept these vices. We need to go to war culturally with these vices that are corrupting and dragging down our society, especially the young men in our society. The young men who, because they're so dragged down by vices, because they're so dragged down by gambling and porn and substance abuse, that they can't lead themselves, and then they can't lead women, and they can't lead children, and you don't have a functioning society, because the men who are supposed to take the lead and walk up to a woman and say, hey, you want to go out tonight? They get married 2 years later, they have 3 kids, and they live in the country. That's not happening with most of these people because the men are being men, and then the women don't feel like they can be women. They choose feminism, and they're lonely 38-year-old childless lawyers when if a real man walked up to that woman in a bar when she was 22, she'd probably be married with 3 kids right now. That's the society we need to rebuild.
How do we do it?
Well, we need to call on young men to one by one be the solution. And I do this. I know you do this. Pastors need to do this en masse. We need to call on young men to be men. And in order to become that man who can walk up to a woman and start dating her and marry her and buy a house in the country and have a few kids, first he needs to lead himself. So this is my call to young men listening. Quit porn, quit smoking, quit drinking, work hard, and learn to love habits that make you stronger. If you learn to love studying the Bible, you will be spiritually stronger every day. If you learn to love lifting weights, you will become physically stronger every day. That's really the life hack. So for all you young men listening out there, my number one life hack for you, learn to love the things that make you stronger.
Well, it's funny you say that. Nick Shirley, he's doing this video and he's like, nobody can blackmail me. He's like, I'm a young guy. I'm a virgin. I don't have any vices. So you have a free and clear slate. And I tell my kids all the time, like, I'm keeping you off the internet to protect you from you. Like, because you don't want something like that hanging over your head. And anything that's done online, it's going to be there forever. Are young men waking up to that and going, okay, I can't be doing this?
They are one by one. And one of the most encouraging pieces of survey data I ever saw was, I actually saw this middle of last year. I was seeing all these news stories about America drinking less. Is there a revival? And kind of lazy reporting, just making overall summations. So I went to the place where I knew I could get real data the food and beverage industry podcasts and journals and research that an Anheuser-Busch executive would read to figure out how to sell more Bud Light to a frat boy, which isn't that hard to do, but it's getting harder. Anyways, I digress. And I wanted to figure out what was really happening. So as of late summer last year, the whole nation wasn't drinking less. Most of the demos were actually kind of holding fast. There was one demo drinking way less, and it was young men. And they did attitudinal studies to try to figure it out because, I mean, they're trying to sell Bud Light to 19-year-olds, which is illegal, but they do it, obviously.
Yep.
And, I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, I'll be watching football with my 4-year-old, and she's watching a Bud Light commercial. Like, how's this legal? Like, kids watch this stuff. But anyways, I digress.
Well, something like 70% of alcohol sales go to alcoholics.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's a mess. So they wanted to dig into why young men were drinking less because obviously they're trying to sell alcohol. And they figured out that A, young men for the first time in several generations do not look at drinking alcohol as an inherently masculine activity. So that's wild. And number 2, for the first time, young men in America see self-mastery as the number one masculine quality. So when they say one adjective that makes you think of masculinity, and they say self-mastery. So there are all these young men who deep down inside value self-mastery, even if they don't have the self-control to achieve it, yet at least they want it, which tells me that a lot of young men are hungry for more. And this goes back into something that we talk about from time to time on air. A lot of people think that you have to clean up your life before you can then become a Christian. Be like, well, I better stop watching porn and stop getting drunk every night, and then maybe I can go to World Outreach Church and walk up to Alan Jackson and say, I want to become a Christian. How do I do this? That's not how it works. Jesus calls you. He wants you to surrender your life to him, and then he'll help get rid of your sin. That comes after. And there are a lot of young men who are just mired in vice, and they want this amazing Americana life. They want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to experience success. They want to live in the country, whatever it may be. The first step before any of that, they need to give their life to Jesus, because Jesus says if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That's what the Bible says, Romans 10:9. You have to give your life to Jesus so that he can then help you get rid of those vices so that you can become a functioning member of society. And it makes me think of this whole incel movement, which is becoming so popular on the internet.
It's so funny that you're going there because I have this text message that I wanted to hit you with.
Okay.
Because it's exactly that. 1579 texted and he goes, today's women aren't worth it.
So that is like a textbook incel movement thing to say. So I'll brief you guys.
But you've heard, you've heard the term hoflation floating around on the internet, like where it's like you have to work 3 times as hard to get a woman who is half the woman that your grandmother was.
And that's certainly a tough thing because the reality is morally, there are much fewer godly, strong women you would actually want to marry, but there's also much fewer men. My answer there is that men need to lead. The reason why so many women are very immoral, especially in young female culture now, is because almost all of the young men want that. So women oftentimes in a society are responsive to the desires of men. A lot of people will attack me for that. They'll say it's very sexist. It's the core reason why so many millennial women are feminists, because so many millennial men were unimpressive. So those women were like, well, I don't want to get married. Look at the men. So it's easy to look at the young women in society and say it's not worth it. The reason why you're seeing rampant immorality with young women is because almost all of the young men want rampant immorality. I know a lot of young men who say, I want to get married and have kids. Then I watch some godly woman talk to them and show some interest. And he's like, I'm not into it because I don't know if she's going to be that freaky and wild. To be like, you just told me you want to get married. Like the disconnect is pretty bad. So I'll summarize what the incel movement is. And that text kind of echoes a lot of these themes. So there's a significant chunk of young men in America who believe that the women aren't worth it and that they're just victims of evolution and that they call them Chads. The Chads, the tall, genetically desirable, successful men are who all the women want to sleep with, and that most women are hypergamous and immoral, and that's the summation they make.
And incel stands for involuntarily celibate.
Yes. And they believe that they might as well just not try because since God didn't make them a Chad, that there's no woman out there for them because women are awful because they all just want to sleep with the Chads. So think about all of the layers of victim mentality that go into building that worldview. And it's a lie from hell that convinces a lot of young men they can never make something out of their life. And I get it. Maybe you were born into a tough economic situation. Maybe you're not the captain of the football team. You know what you can do? You can build the two things that young women find most attractive: self-control and strength. I don't care how tall or short you are. I don't care what family you're from. You can read books. You can lift weights. You can give your life to Jesus. You can read the Bible. You can become a man who leads himself. And you know what most women who are worth marrying care more about than being tall and being rich? Is this a good man who can lead himself and lead me?
We got a lot of people that want to jump on the phone lines and talk to you. We'll take some of your calls next. If you got a question for Josh, 615-737-9986. Jason texted and he said, the risk of marriage is not worth the reward. I'll tell you why I disagree with that on the way. Josh probably has a few thoughts on that as well. It's 11:27. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Man, we're diving into the real stuff.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers in Wilson County be on the lookout. Lebanon Pike at Devonshire Drive for loose sheep in the road. Got full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Authorities trying to learn what led to a deadly fire that killed a man in a wheelchair in downtown Nashville this morning. Happened around 2 o'clock when someone driving by called 911. Investigators from Metro Police and Nashville Fire treating the case as a potential homicide while they gather evidence. A state appeals court says the public's entitled to see the Covenant school shooting investigation records. Judges ruled Metro Nashville no longer has grounds to withhold the documents because the investigation is closed. Police previously argued the case was ongoing, but detectives wrapped up their work last year. A trial court will now decide which documents are released and what information needs to be redacted. Today's show host Savannah Guthrie, her sister Annie Guthrie, and their brother Cameron have released a video statement asking for whoever took their mother, Nancy Guthrie, to prove that she is still alive and well.
We live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated.
They've heard reports of ransom letters, want to know if their 84-year-old mother is okay. Nancy Guthrie was last seen at her home Saturday night, and police believe she was abducted from her sleep early Sunday morning. The FDA updating guidelines for the no artificial colors label on food packaging. For the first time, the label will now include foods dyed with natural sources like beets or watermelon juice. Products made with synthetic, petroleum-based dyes still will not qualify for the label. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary.
Removing artificial food dyes from the U.S. food supply is not a silver bullet that's suddenly going to make our children healthier, but it is one important step, and it is one set of chemicals that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, big household brands like Walmart, General Mills, and Hershey have already pledged to reduce artificial dyes in some of their products by the end of next year. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Football and King's Irresistible Hawaiian Sliders. There's nothing like it.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. I love these guys. Aaron Parker is a great guy, and the business is run the old-fashioned way. They carry products that they believe in. They answer the phone. They show up when they say they will, and they want to build a long-term relationship with their customers. I mean, this is how everybody used to do business, not so much anymore. Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville, they do business the right way. You can find every safe they have in stock with a detailed review on their YouTube page. Just search Parker Safes. And if you need a fire-rated, theft-resistant gun safe, including UL-rated TL and TR safe, built to resist tool and torch attack, perfect for firearms, perfect for precious metals, jewelry, photo albums, passports, all the things you don't want to lose, Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville is the place to go. Aaron Parker's a veteran with Air Force security experience. Him and his sons handle everything, delivery, installation. They serve all of Nashville and the surrounding areas, and they're going to come to you with the best safe ever. Give them a call today, 931-842-6445. Or you can hop on the website, check out their inventory, or find them on YouTube, parkersafes.com, or search for Parker Safes on YouTube. One more time, that's parkersafes.com. It's 11:38, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Available everywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch us. Super Talk TV's up and running. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe. Josh Tifo's in studio. He's the Senior Director for Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action. We were talking about the SAVE Act, and then we got off on a tangent about young men. And then during the commercial break, we were talking about advertisements on TV. You're against alcohol advertisements on TV.
I'm 100% against any alcohol advertisements that can be accessible to kids. I think it is completely insane that I am watching a football game with my 4-year-old daughter, and then she gets a pitch about why Bud Light is cool. I don't want to live in a country where it's easily accessible for a 4-year-old to learn that drinking Bud Light is cool. That's completely insane. And I know all you alcohol lobby people listening will go nuts over this. You can't advertise Pornhub on an NFL game. You shouldn't be able to advertise weed on an NFL game. You shouldn't be able to advertise gambling to children.
Yeah.
And you can all fight me, but it will create a better society if we're not just building demand in an 8-year-old boy for 10 years to download DraftKings and drink Bud Light as soon as they're legally able to.
I would add more commercials that need to be banned. Like the HIV PrEP commercials. So awkward. Like if you're watching a sports game with your kids and you want to get up and run to the bathroom and you come back in and there's this 300-pound woman named Jamal and she, with this Adam's apple talking about HIV PrEP medication, that's an awkward conversation to have. I remember when it was awkward that the tampon commercials would come on with your mom. Now we've crossed the Rubicon on commercials.
But at the end of the day, and everybody says, oh, you can't legislate morality. We already did. You can't buy beer until you're 21. Why can you advertise it to a 4-year-old?
It's a good point. It's a good point.
If I ever run for office in Tennessee someday, I'm gonna get a lot of attacks from the alcohol lobby because of this segment.
That's gonna be why you lose.
I won't lose, but they're gonna spend a lot of money against me because it's completely true. It should not be easy for somebody selling poison to the American people to advertise it to a 4-year-old. And to everybody who says you can't legislate morality, do you think that the NFL should have like OnlyFans ads?
No.
Yeah, I think everyone in Tennessee, almost everyone in Tennessee can easily agree to that.
Is OnlyFans ruining the country?
OnlyFans, it's easy to say something like that. The reality is that the appetite that men have for OnlyFans is ruining the country. So the women who are going on there and making a lot of money off of these desperate guys, it's only possible because there's so many desperate, lonely guys. The way that you fix that is not by blaming the women. The way that you fix that is by calling young men to be honorable. I would love to live in a country where we just shame anybody who pays money for any sex stuff. If you pay money to go to a strip club, if you love to go on Pornhub, if you pay money to some OnlyFans model to do weird things for you on camera, we should look at that person and be like, that's a loser.
Yeah.
We should look down on those people in society in a healthy way so that they become better.
How do we change that societal norm? Like, Turning Point's all about changing culture. And politics is downstream from culture, right? How do we change the culture?
A big part of that is modeling what living life God's way really looks like. We should champion and advertise and shout from the rooftops how amazing it is to follow God and live his way and not be addicted to things and be married to someone you love, how fulfilling it is to come home after work and play with your 2, 3, 4 kids who love you and who want to spend time with you. The joy that comes from living God's way, from working hard, from leading yourself, from leading a wife, from leading kids, it's extraordinary. It feels like you won the lottery every day when that's your life. I want young men to know that that is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, that if they give their life to Jesus, if they clean their life up, if they make those tough decisions, if they work hard, if they summon up the courage to walk up to a woman in real life, not on Tinder, and talk to her and ask her out, that the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is that special. And you know this. I mean, you have a beautiful wife and wonderful kids.
Yep.
It's how God made young men to live. And a lot of the depression that so many young men feel in society is explicitly the result of making poor life decisions.
A lot of people on the text line are they're going off about the commercials, and they're also talking about marriage. So let's dive into both. First, on the commercials, 7676 texts in, Big Mac and French fries are poison to your body as much as alcohol. Should we ban McDonald's commercials? Where does it stop?
So do we ban McDonald's for children? No. I mean, it's very foolish to give your kids McDonald's, but it's not illegal. But if we've made a substance illegal for children, then why is it legal to advertise it to children?
Somebody texted in and said they removed cigarette ads from TV.
Yeah, and that's a positive step. Yeah, if it's illegal for children to buy cigarettes, then why is it legal to advertise cigarettes to kids?
A lot of people are texting in on the marriage side.
Good,
okay?
let's hit it.
So people are scared of marriage. They don't want to lose half their stuff. They feel like, it's set up to fail the dad. Kids are growing up and they're watching their dads get raked over the coals in these family court systems. What would you tell to those individuals?
So you don't have to fear the financial consequences of divorce if you become a strong, godly man and you marry a strong, godly woman. Because in that case, you are building a marriage based on a covenant with God and a covenant with each other. It's not a contract. The contract mentality of marriage is one of the most detrimental things that's happened in American culture over the last several decades. And I can't believe I'm saying this. One person who's largely to blame is Ronald Reagan. So Ronald Reagan brought no-fault divorce to California. It spread like wildfire through the whole country because it's very politically popular to say, hey, we're going to make it a lot easier to get rid of that husband or that wife you don't like. It makes people feel like marriage is lower commitment. It's easy. And I mean, America loved that very quickly. And Reagan was actually the one who introduced that. He did a lot of other great things, so I'm not hating on Reagan overall.
The amnesty bill sucked too.
But no fault, not great. No fault divorce was a complete nuclear bomb because from one generation to the next, it changed the way that American culture viewed marriage. We stopped seeing marriage as a covenant between God and between each other, and we started seeing it as a contract. Most Americans see marriage like they see buying a house. That's a big decision, could have major financial implications, but if it doesn't work out, we can always pull out. If it doesn't work out, we can always move. Like, it's a big commitment, but like, it doesn't have to be for life. I mean, if we live here forever, it'd be great, but like, we don't have to, and that's why I love it. That is how most Americans, even Americans in the church, see marriage. And it is so destructive. And it leads to fear. Because if you have a contract view of marriage, it is easy to be terrified of it. Because what if either of you decides that the contract's not working for you anymore? Then all of a sudden the business you built's getting split 50-50. You're arguing about when you can see your kids. It's a complete nightmare. The reason why it's a complete nightmare is because that's straight from the pit of hell. That's not what marriage is supposed to be. Marriage is between a man and a woman, which I hope I get some hate off that. Marriage is between a man and a woman, and it is a covenant between the man and the woman, but also between the man and the woman and God himself. And that is a holy thing. That is a special thing. That is a beautiful thing. And if you're following God and you marry a woman who is following God, you do not have to fear divorce.
65% of families in Nashville proper are single parent. 1726 texted in. With that kind of a rate of single-parent homes, how do we set the example for kids coming up that marriage is even a good idea?
So the first thing that needs to happen, and I wish that the church encouraged this more, for people in those heartbreaking situations, people in those single-parent households, the church should be promoting the idea of making those single-parent households whole households again. And that's something that I don't hear pastors talk about that much. But if you're in a tough situation, the best thing that you can do is get married to a good person and build a whole household for your kid.
I got a text here, and I lost who sent it, but it was a good text. 53% divorce rate in the church.
That's because most of the American church does not actually live sold out for Jesus. Most of the American church shows up on Sunday sometimes, and they treat it like a country club. They're like, is the coffee good? Is the worship good? Did I feel inspired by the message? And it's not about this sold out, I'm going to pour over the word of God every day. I'm going to do whatever it says, and I'm going to live my life and lead my marriage and run my business according to what the word of God says. The reason why the divorce rates are very similar in the church as they are outside of the church is because most of the church has fallen for that cultural lie that marriage is a contract. So it doesn't matter if you say you're a Christian or not. If you treat your marriage like a contract, she better do what I want or I'm going to leave, or he better do what I want or I'm going to leave, then you will not have a healthy marriage. You will both be under constant stress and constant pressure. You will both struggle with feelings that you're not good enough, because if both or one of you see marriage as a contract, maybe someday you're not good enough, and maybe she leaves, and maybe she takes half of your stuff. But if you both follow God and you see marriage as a covenant, that fear evaporates. And when that fear evaporates, your marriage becomes a source of peace instead of a source of stress.
A lot of people are texting in. I'm trying to get through all of them. A lot of people are back on the commercials. Nolene texted in. She said with the commercials, how about be a parent? Why are you allowing your minor children to watch television? Do your job, parent their viewing.
So yes, I do. And I have to watch when my 4-year-old wants to watch college football with me, I have to be right there to turn off when there's some type of commercial a 4-year-old should not be seeing. That's not happening in most homes. So I challenge anybody to make a good argument against this one. If we have decided legally that they cannot sell a product to a child, then why is it legal to advertise to that child?
And not to mention all the subliminal stuff in some of these ads that are low key there. You know, there's a book. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the book. Maybe you'll know it, but it was basically the Rainbow Mafia wrote a book on how to become more accepted in mainstream culture. And one of the things that they wanted to do was start appearing in the background in commercials and normalize that. Are the subtle messages, the subliminal messages in commercials, as much of a problem as the overt messages?
They're an enormous problem. And it's funny that you mention that because that's been happening for years and years. The Rainbow Mafia also made a considerable push to place gay actors and gay couples in as many shows and movies as possible. They were very successful. And what used to be a fringe belief that a man and a man can get married or a woman and a woman can get married has now become pretty mainstream, even in the quote-unquote church in America, largely because of that. And it happened during this period of fear in the American church where most pastors were afraid to speak out against it because they thought, oh, well, it might offend people. I mean, we're here to preach the gospel. So if we're going to preach the gospel, we got to make sure not to offend anyone. We want the gay couple coming to our church. So using that logic, we watered down the truth and the power of the American church. And the left just took over everything. And the result is 12-year-old boys getting their balls cut off. So congratulations. Your focus on whatever you thought kindness was led to a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And thank God for the people in culture who are willing to stand up and say, this is crazy, I don't stand for this. Charlie Kirk was taken off of Twitter. He had one of the biggest Twitters in the whole political world. He was taken off of Twitter and then significantly dethrottled when he came back because he spoke out on the trans issue. You saw how the left has tried to ruin Riley Gaines' life because she spoke out on the trans issue.
The trans issue is such an example of what happens with these NGOs, because you had all these non-governmental organizations that were bringing in all this money, these 501c3s, to fight for equal rights, fighting for gay marriage. And as soon as Barack Obama legalized that, all of these companies went, oh crap, what do we do now to raise money? I've been getting paid $250,000 a year to fight for gay marriage, and now my job is gone. So they looked for the next next group, and it was the trans movement. So in a matter of just a few years, we went from what I do in the privacy of my own home is my business, you bigot, to your 3-year-old is trans, and now let's watch this guy on the Super Bowl halftime show in a dress and shut up and take it.
So you're 100% right from an organizational perspective, but I'm going to take it to a spiritual perspective that's very dark, very haunting, but important to talk about. The real reason why the LGBT movement is obsessed with reaching our children is because they cannot make their own. 2 men cannot have a baby. 2 women cannot have a baby. The survival of their movement requires the recruitment of our children.
Also, can I just say this, and this is going to be controversial. Just let me preface that. Just about every single gay man was abused as a child. Every single one of them. There was some molestation. There was some sexual abuse. There was some sort of sodomy. They weren't born that way. They were created.
And what you just said would get you taken off air a lot of places. I'm glad you have the courage to say that. The reality is that our whole generation was wrecked by the born this way lie. There were people who were traumatized in some type of way, like you just said, or they just didn't have a place in society. They were weird. They were awkward. Girls didn't like them. And then Satan came along with this lie from the pit of hell that the reason why you don't fit in is because you were born a different way. And here's the Christianized version of it. God made you gay. And this is what the liberal church took and run with. And they peddled this lie to 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old misfits. And there's a reason why so many of these kids who are white join the Rainbow Mafia. It's happening at the same time as all this anti-white rhetoric. So according to the left's logic, the more of a victim you are, the higher you are essentially in the social system. And if you are a white man from a Christian home from the South, then you are the most worthless in their system. And you can make a choice to become more valuable in their system by saying that I'm gay. And this happened many, many, many times. It especially happened with a lot of the trans movement.
Yep.
And you saw this reflected in the data. So the start of the trans movement was a lot of very darkly, horrifically abused kids who disassociated with their identity and then wanted to be a boy or wanted to be a girl. And then all of a sudden, almost all of the trans kids were not that. They were people from upper middle class homes, almost entirely white. It's because this 11, 12, 13-year-old was being peddled all this leftist nonsense about how they're worthless because they're white, worthless because they're Christian. And they said, I can choose to be part of a protected class that has value in this society. And they come out and say, I'm trans, I want to become a boy. I'm trans, I want to become a girl. All of a sudden, they're near the top of the social hierarchy. That's the lie that was told. They literally are told you can choose a higher social status in our system if you bow to this lie.
Yeah, you're a they, them now. Congratulations. Yeah, you're not an evil white bigot. Colonizer.
And this stuff is happening in Tennessee. I mean, I had a call with Senator Harshberger the other day, and he's doing a great job working behind the scenes on this. There's a school out in East Tennessee, Bristol, Tennessee High School. So we're in this bloodbath right now trying to get a chapter approved. I think they'll do it because they're kind of scared of potential backlash. But in the process of digging into this and working with the senator, working with the school, I learned some of the other things that the school has done. So they kicked Fellowship of Christian Athletes off of campus. I'm like, okay, probably not a great school. And then I learned about a mandatory all-school assembly they had last year where they brought in a gay drag dancer.
Of course.
And it was a mandatory all-school assembly. You could only get out of it with a doctor's note. And they made all these kids watch a gay drag dancer dance for them.
Talk about an advertisement for homeschooling.
14 to 18-year-olds in a public school in Tennessee.
It's points on the board.
I mean, I want to see administrators over there get locked up.
I'm with you. Josh Tifo, Senior Director for Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Big weekend for you guys, the All-American Halftime Show. I thought we were going to talk a little bit more about it. It's on TBN, Real America's Voice, Turning Point's YouTube channel, the Rumble channel. How excited are you guys for the halftime show?
I'm thrilled. So Kid Rock is headlining. We've got Lee Brice. We've got Gabby Barrett. We have, who's that? Brantley Gilbert. Gilbert. Love him.
And I've heard, this is just a rumor, but I've heard there's no alcohol commercials, no HIV PrEP commercials. None of that will be involved.
Well, unfortunately, no, I'm kidding. I think you're really going to like the advertisers. A lot of great people, a lot of great companies. But I think that we're going to have a massively successful halftime show, not just because the performers are great, but also because America despises Bad Bunny. And I know that the leftist awards mechanism is just showering him with praise, and I think they might back off and he might not wear the dress. We'll see, because the NFL, at the end of the day, they like making money, even though they really do love appeasing the left.
Well, if he does or he doesn't, I'll have to find out after the fact, because I'll be watching the All-American Halftime Show. How can we keep up with you on social media?
So first, I want to let you know how to watch the All-American Halftime Show. Then I'll tell you that. So you can watch the All-American Halftime Show on Real America's Voice, on TBN, several other outlets. A really easy way will be the Turning Point Rumble account or the Turning Point YouTube account. You can keep up with me on social media at Josh Tifo, JOSHTHIFAULT, at Josh Tifo, at Josh THIFAULT. And also, I've got a flag 2 events. We're having a huge Make Heaven Crowded tour stop on 215 at Alan Jackson's Church, World Outreach Church. And then I am giving a speech at Belmont University the next evening.
I saw that.
Monday, February 16th. So come out to that. Send your kids, send your grandkids to that. Could get pretty wild. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I love it. Josh Tifo joining us once again. We appreciate you, man. It's 11:57. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Awesome. Is that it?